Hey guys, it's Dr. Justin Marcagiani here. Today's podcast is going to be all about, is your health making you stressed and anxious? Again, it takes a lot of effort and a lot of energy to be healthy. And we want to make sure that those goals are not making you sick and stressed at the same time. Evan, how are we doing today, man?
Doing awesome. Let's dive in. First of all, when you say that, why? Why does it take so much effort to be healthy? Is it just the modern world, the circumstances, the toxins?
So my first step out of the gates, it's all about habits, right? It takes no more effort to get what you want than what it does to get what you don't want. It's all about pattern of behavior. And so I always tell patients the first month is typically the hardest because you're creating new patterns of behavior. So there's four levels of competence, right? There's the conscious or unconsciously incompetent, meaning you don't know what you don't know. You're just totally clueless, right? And then you're unconsciously, or then you're basically unconsciously competent, where you kind of know that you don't know something, right? You kind of know that you don't know something. And then you're consciously competent, where you know it, but you really have to be focused on the habits, choosing the right things, doing the right things. So usually it's the unconscious incompetence. These are people we're not able to help because they don't even know there's a problem. Once they go from unconsciously incompetent to consciously incompetent, they know that they don't quite have the skills. That's where we're able to help them in stage two. And stage two to stage three is the hardest because this is where we go from you're consciously competent. You have to focus. You have to think about every little thing you're doing, right? What's my analogy? Anyone that's driven a standard transmission car, it's tough. Like you're driving a car. Now you're putting your left foot on the clutch. You're shifting gears. Maybe you're looking down to make sure you don't go from first to third, right? But at the same time, you still got to steer and keep your eyes on the road. So it becomes this, you may be able to do it. You're grinding the gears, but it's a lot of stress and you're consciously competent. That's kind of where most people are at with their health changes. And then there's unconscious competence. That's where we're at. We're literally on cruise control because we've done things thousands of times in regards to the clean filtered water that we're drinking, eating good, healthy proteins and fats, taking supplements, avoiding toxins, using health devices that help improve air quality and water quality and EMF and all the things that we're doing. It's unconscious. There's literally no effort for us to continue to do it, or very little effort, right? Kind of like driving. Once you have a stick, it's like no big deal. You're like shifting gears. Your eyes are on the road. You're downshifting. No problem, right? Is that a good analogy?
Yeah, that makes sense. And a lot of people, they get overwhelmed and then they just give up, or they get pressured by their family members or their friends, like you and I were talking about before we hit record. Oh, just have some gluten. It's not going to hurt you. You know, I've had family members joke, like when we're giving them the salt shaker at the dinner table, they'll say, oh, can you pass me some gluten? And they'll try to like joke like they're pouring gluten on their meal. It's like, oh, come on. So, you know, you get people like that that'll try to influence you. And it may all be a joke, but sometimes I don't want to say weak people, but when I say weak, I mean people that are symptomatic, people that are ill. They've been trapped in those habits for so long. They may actually fall off the wagon from Aunt Betty saying, hey, try one of my famous cookies that are loaded with sugar and gluten. They may go for Aunt Betty's cookie when they know they shouldn't. But I think, number one, I think you have to suffer enough to be able to be more compliant. I don't know if you agree with that or not, but like for me, I've suffered enough to where I don't feel that I want to make those choices anymore. Like I know that queso would be so friggin' delicious, but I don't want to pay the price with my skin. I don't want to pay the price with my gut. So for me, I've suffered enough to be able to make the choices easier. But if you're trying to just convince people just to convince them, I don't think it's as powerful.
So yeah, I have a couple of thoughts on that. Those are all valid points, Evan. So off the bat, it all depends where you're starting, right? The healthier you are, the more adaptable you are, right? So the healthier you are, the more adaptation you are, more adaptable you are, the more you can deal with a stress like gluten, like sugar, like being off on your diet, like being off on your sleep. So the healthier you are, you may have a little bit more resilience. And then the question comes down to, how do you feel after you eat some crappy food? Right? How do you feel? How long does it take you to get back on track the next day? Is it just you're okay and that next day, maybe you're a little bit of a slow starter, but then you're good? Or does it take a couple of days or a whole week to kind of get back on track, right? So the healthier you are, the more adaptation your body has, the more you could cheat a little bit. Now, there's different levels of cheating. There's eating lots of processed sugar and lots of gluten and lots of food allergens that you can't handle. Now, if you don't have an autoimmune condition and you aren't as sensitive in regards to how you feel afterwards, you may be able to get away with that every now and then. Not that big of a deal. If you have a diagnosed autoimmune condition like myself, I have Hashimoto's that I have totally managed under control. I always try to choose the healthy alternative. Meaning I'm always going to go grain-free over gluten-free. I'm always going to go gluten-free over gluten full, if you will, right? So like we had Thanksgiving last week, we got some squash pies from True Food Kitchen that were 100% grain free and like lower sugar. They were great, right? Good, better, best. So I always try to make the best quality decision I possibly can because I know I have autoimmune issues and I want to prevent my immune system from attacking my body. Now, if someone doesn't have any diagnosed conditions and they feel great, they may be able to do more of an 80-20, kind of 90-10. I do an 80-20, 90-10, but I still keep it to ideally grain-free processed foods or at least gluten-free processed foods. And if someone isn't at a stable place in their health, they're coming to see us, they're in the middle of their functional medicine kind of on ramp, well, then we got to be a little bit more puritanical off the bat. So it all depends where you're at in the plan that you're on.
Yeah. And even though I'm feeling better and I could probably get away with more stuff, I just don't go there because I know that I don't want to say it's a slippery slope, but I know that if I'm like, okay, I got away with it once, the next week I may go for it again. And then boom. And then now I've got the skin issue again, or now I've got the gut issue again. So for me, it's very easy to stay on track. I don't feel like I'm missing out. I don't feel deprived. I think one part of this conversation, you're titling this talk is, being healthy, making you anxious or stressed. And I think where people get caught up in it is because they feel like they're deprived. They look at these other people eating the pizza and they're like, well, I want pizza. I'm deprived. This is bullcrap. And then they get stressed that they have to eat their grass-fed steak and sweet potato. But for me, once you feel so good, it's not a diet of deprivation. Wouldn't you agree? This is not a diet where you feel like you're missing out. I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything.
Well, anytime you're dealing with, eating a bunch of crappy food, you have to look at why. Okay. And so in general, a lot of times neurotransmitters play a big role. So a lot of people use a big whack of sugar to artificially boost serotonin and dopamine. And that we call that emotional eating. They're using a lot of the sugar to get that under control. So with myself, if I cheat on anything, it's going to be like the Unreal coconut dark chocolate. It's going to be my keto cups. Like, is it really a cheat? Probably not. There's barely any sugar in it, but it still gives me that mouthfeel and not that sense of cheating, like I'm really eating a whole bunch of bad foods, but it feels good. It feels like a cheat. It feels like a treat, so to speak. So we always try to choose the highest quality one. We try to choose the lowest quality or the highest quality nutrition, like good fats, right? Avoiding the trans fats, good lower sugar amounts. I try to do more of the organic coconut palm versus, the high fructose corn syrup, maybe with some mercury in there. So we try to choose the better quality types. And how do you feel afterwards? A lot of people, they don't really look at how they're going to feel afterwards. So if you're really bloating or gassy and your skin breaks out and it lasts a week, like if I have a skin breakout that lasts a week, I am like, heck no, not worth it. So you're always playing damage control. You're always making calculated assessments. So when you make a decision to engage in desserts and treats for the holidays, we're going to be choosing the healthiest quality, the lowest sugar, but still have a great time. Like with my kids, we went trick-or-treating. What happened afterwards? Well, trick-or-treating bag with all the candy went away. We actually gave it to the fire station. And then I got some of the Justin's high quality dark chocolate peanut butter cups and some of the Unreal dark chocolates with a little bit of coconut in there. And that was their substitute. And so they got one or two every now and then, and it was low sugar, good fats. The fats are important because it stabilizes blood sugar, prevents cravings and swings, and actually makes them a little bit satiated afterwards. And we'd give it to them after a dinner. So we're not creating this blood sugar roller coaster of eating sugar by itself. And so we'd always just make these really good calculated substitutes because I want to give my kids and myself a chance to enjoy life or have a childhood or do things that are really, they're like special, but with kind of mitigating the side effects, if you will.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I think it's easier if the whole family can get on board. Like you mentioned, you're doing this with your kids. So
Bingo.
if you got the husband or the wife that's not on board, that's going to be really tough. I don't know if I have many other solutions besides wait until that person is symptomatic enough to get on board, because they're really not going to do it just out of choice unless they're just a very, very supportive spouse. Then wow, good job, you've got to keep her. But in most cases, like I said, it's the husband or the wife making fun of the other one. Like, I'm going to drink the beer, eat the pizza, and do the wine or whatever, and you're going to just go eat your AIP diet. So try to get family members on board. That's the best advice I can do, because then it gets exhausting. Man, you've got the husband or the wife cooking double meals, right? They're making the unhealthy meal and then they're making the healthy meal, and then you got double the cleanup. So just from a sustainability standpoint, it's just really best if you can get everyone, the kids on board too, because you don't want mom. I had one lady, this is going to sound crazy, maybe not to you, but maybe to others. We had a lady with Hashimoto's where we had determined that the reason that she was having flares is because she was touching the bread, making her children sandwiches every day, and that she was basically holding it, and there was some kind of like a gluten skin reaction.
Transdermal kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we got her off. Well, hey, we'll just quit making sandwiches, or at least go like a grain-free bread if you can find it. And luckily the antibodies went down just by changing that, because she was already AIP with her diet. And we're like, well, why are the antibodies continuing to rise with thyroid? We worked on the gut. Typically that would help, but it didn't help. And then boom, we figured out it was the lady making sandwiches. So in her case, it actually benefited her to help her kids as well.
Yeah, and most of my patients, the women tend to be on point. They tend to be 100% on point. They tend to be a little bit more in tune with their health. Also, I think they tend to be a little bit more, let's just say, not supported by conventional medicine, right? Women have hormonal issues. What are they given? I mean, if they're cycling age, it's birth control pills, right? The people are getting a little bit more cutting edge with hormones as they get into menopausal age, but they were doing horse hormones for the longest time, and they weren't fixing any of these underlying issues. And they were just throwing medications at it or antidepressants at it. And they kind of, most women intuitively knew that something was wrong. Now, my other kinds of patients are like my guys that are great. They're like the biohackers. They're like the guys that are like optimizing cell performance. They're trying to really get their level, their RPMs, their performance to a higher level. Those are my two like great patients, my women patients that are really know something's up and want to dive in deeper. And that my guys that are more on the biohacking side and kind of optimizing performance, they kind of know something is up. Now, when I make recommendations for patients, you got to really get focused on the performance aspect. Like you got to feel, because when people have this satisfaction feeling of like their mouth and their taste and all that stuff, that's a hard feeling to overcome, right? It's always pain versus pleasure. So you really have to link up a lot of pleasure from the performance that you get from eating great food, whether that is clean skin, whether it's all day energy, whether it's good sleep, whether it's good libido and mood. You really have to internalize the performance enhancements that you get. Now, the more adaptable you get, you can still keep those benefits while you cheat a little bit. Now, we just choose the healthiest cheat possible. I already gave you a couple of options of what I do. You can do it going out to eat. You can do it going to steakhouses. There's all kinds of good things you can do when you go to a nice restaurant with steak and vegetables, or if you go do sushi, we'll avoid the soy sauce and we'll do MCT oil and coconut aminos, right? There's a lot of substitutes we're always doing. And it's hard out of the gates because it's stressful. But once you kind of make a habit out of it, you kind of have all of those go-to substitutes there at your fingertips. Do you have any things that you do, Evan, that, you know, maybe a treat for you, but it's, you know, a really good go-to?
Yeah, well, in terms of drinks, you know, I think that's a big one, right? Just getting people off of sugary drinks. So Suja, I think, has done a great job with all of their green juices. They have one. I want to say it's called like Skin Beauty or something. I don't have the label in front of me. But for me, in terms of beverages, I mean, I'm typically doing herbal teas, chamomile, ginger, peppermint tea, and then good, clean filtered water. That's about it. I know you're super into the Topo Chicos and some of the other mineral waters, carbonated waters. Those are great. But for me, I think it's called Beauty Skin or Skin Beauty something. Anyway, Suja makes it. It's a Whole Foods. It's like maybe 4 grams of sugar, but it's like lychee juice and blueberry juice. Man, if I just get something like that, it's a treat for me. And it may have a little bit of stevia or monk fruit in there. Something like that is great. For my wife, you know, she had previously used, like, you know, we're talking 10 years ago, she had previously used some of the coffee creamers. I know people really do a lot of sugar in those. They'll say, oh, I only, you know, this coffee creamer is only 2 grams of sugar, but it's like, yeah, but you're putting like freaking 5 tablespoons. You're just pouring it in. So for her, she really loves the Rebel, like the mushroom coffee blends.
Yeah, I like that one.
Yeah, like the coffee with the mushrooms. And I think it has coconut milk and stevia. So it's basically no sugar. So for us, those are kind of our treats that make her feel like she's still getting a good creamy, sweet coffee without sugar. And then for me, I used to love as a kid and a teenager, man, I loved soda. I mean, Sunkist and Mountain Dew. I mean, I was into all the garbage. For me now, if I have that lychee juice, I mean, it tastes like candy, but it's
Yeah.
my palate's changed. That's the thing. The palate has evolved for us. So, like you mentioned, the treats, your level of treat, like I think you and I've talked about blueberries. I think you said you've done
Oh, yeah.
frozen blueberries with like whipped cream, and that's a treat for you. That's like a
Yeah,
dessert.
coconut cream's great, is awesome. Or I'll do it in some coconut yogurt. It's all about, okay, try to do the right thing 80% of the time, right? And then a lot of the treats that we do it may still be part of the right thing, right? If we're doing some almond butter, if you can tolerate nuts and Granny Smith apple and cinnamon, or if you can do some blueberries and some coconut cream, those still may be healthy things, right? So the cool thing is if we can choose healthy treats that feel like a treat, taste like a treat, but still healthy, that's a win-win, because then you can do that more frequently. And that's kind of it mixes up the monotony of your routine. And then of course, if we're going to go and cheat a little bit, when I go to a restaurant, what's my go-to? Well, I'll get like a really nice homemade, a couple of restaurants I go to that are steakhouses, they'll make a nice ice cream that's kind of a sorbet, or it's kind of coconut based, and those are really wonderful and tasty. Or I went to True Food Kitchen and got a squash pie, which was wonderful. Or like a coconut, like there's a restaurant down in Austin called Picnic. They have some wonderful autoimmune dessert recipes that are excellent. So you can try to always mitigate a little bit. And then if you something that's really special, I don't know, your grandmother makes something special around the holidays and it's worth the treat, well, that's fine. You've earned it. As long as you can deal with the side effects afterwards. And ideally, we don't have an autoimmune condition with active antibodies that could be attacking your body, then it's probably okay.
Yeah, very, very good. And then, of course, we've mentioned the enzymes before too. So you're going to go get your grandma's secret recipe. There's probably wheat and other crap in there. You may just want to do your enzyme, right? So like you and I both manufacture professional enzymes. So if you're working with us, you're probably already taking those, but that'd be a good strategy. Oh, another treat for us, I just started making these recently, is to take the siete, the soft tortillas, and make like a sopapilla out of it. So you do like a little bit of coconut oil, or you could just do butter if you want, and then just kind of put it in a pan for 10, 15 seconds, heat up the tortilla, and then just do a little bit of coconut sugar and cinnamon on it. Oh my God. It tastes like when I was a kid, I'd go to the county fair and go eat the funnel cake or the elephant ear, like that wheat thing with a bunch of powdered sugar on it. Oh my God. I used to love those. But this little, the grain-free tortilla with the coconut sugar and cinnamon, man, that thing's delicious. That's a treat.
Yeah. And so you can mitigate. So number one, don't feel stressed about being healthy. Just kind of know that first month to 2 months is the hardest. If you're coming in to, this new healthy lifestyle and habits with a lot of symptoms, don't worry about cheating. Put your focus on developing habits, right? Many people, they go into this place in their head of like, oh my God, like I'm not going to ever be able to eat this again. It's like a divorce. It's like a breakup. It's like they're literally grieving the loss of this food they'll never eat again. Don't go into it like that. Go into it with the mindset of, hey, I am going to focus on eating nutrient-dense, anti-inflammatory, low-toxin food so I can decrease inflammation in my body, accelerate healing, and feel awesome. And then once you're at a good level where you've kind of plateaued, and you work through some of the programs that we're on with hormones and gut, and your digestion's better, then we can start adding foods back in. And we're always going to choose the healthiest treat options and the healthiest foods first. And then if your optimal health stays at that great level, then we can, if you want to go off the beaten path here or there, 80-20, 90-10, 95-5, and you're able to maintain your benefits and it doesn't take you too long to get back on track, that's fine. There's a book out there called The 4-Hour Body by Tim Ferriss. And Tim Ferriss talks about a cheat day, eating whatever you want for a whole day. That is, I'm sorry, for most people, it's a terrible idea because they go have a cheat day on Sunday and they're so inflamed, it takes till Thursday the next week to get back into homeostasis. That's a problem. And so,
let me interject.
Go ahead.
Let me interject, because I think that you may even be underplaying how bad of an idea that is, because you and I've seen, just by looking at thousands of people on test results, we've seen, gluten antibodies and other antibodies go up for potentially months after certain exposures like that. So you're mentioning possibly a week to reset. It could even be months.
If you have an active autoimmune thyroid issue or active autoimmune issue, it could be. Now, you can get your thyroid looked at. You could always do an Array 5 by Cyrex to look at other silent antibodies. It could be there. But if your health is great and you feel great and you know you can kind of get back on track the next day, all right, fine. But try to always choose a grain-free option for most of your stuff, at least gluten-free for most of it. But yeah, so my whole thing is, how do you know something's worth it? You should be able to get back on track that next day. If you're not back on track the next day, that's a problem. Now, Evan, you already alluded to, well, what if those antibodies popped up and we don't know about it? So if you have an active thyroid or autoimmune issue, you really want to be testing those antibodies or that ANA or those autoimmune markers. If you have lupus or Sjogren's or something kind of under the surface, I would say really choose the healthiest cheap possible. It's just not worth it when tissue's being destroyed.
Yeah, yeah. Well said. And for me, we like to leverage the lab testing and show, like, look how good you've done. Look, we've got your dopamine back to normal. You mentioned neurotransmitters early on. Look, we've got serotonin normalized. Now, doesn't that feel good? Look at your calprotectin in your gut. We've got your inflammation down 1,000 points. Look at your secretory IgA. That's starting to come back up because you're removing the foods irritating the gut. Look at some of these infections we've cleared out because you're not using the sugar to feed the candida and to feed the other pathogens. So when we use the functional medicine testing plus just kind of our pep talks and motivation we give to people, it's a really good 1-2 punch that keeps people on a sustainable path forever. And it really is a lifestyle. We talk about, oh, this is a lifestyle. It's easy to embrace once you feel good. So I agree with you. You got to focus on, hey, do you want to feel amazing? And then some people will ask the same thing with supplements, right? They'll ask the same question about diet as they do supplements. How long do I have to do this on their diet? And I'm like, well, and this is I always punch back with this. Well, do you want to survive or do you want to thrive? Well, obviously I want to thrive. Okay, well then do it forever. Like, oh, okay, that was easy. So for me, that's the default answer. Like when somebody's like, well, how long do I need to dial in my diet? I mean, as long as you want to feel amazing is the answer.
Yeah, I tell patients out of the gates, you may have to be more puritanical because you're trying to make up for lost time. It's kind of like if you're in debt from decades of poor spending habits. Well, we're going to have to kind of get you on a really lean budget, and you're going to have to be investing and saving a large percent of what you make. Now, as you get on top of that and you're debt free and you're feeling great, and now you're making investments and now you're on your way to financial freedom, you can be a little bit more loosey goosey with your spending, right? It's kind of the same thing with your health. Just change the money equation to health, and it's the exact same thing. And so we always try to look at getting momentum, getting you on top of your health, reaching the level of conscious competence to unconscious competence where it's automatic. Because the stress that people feel in that first month or two is just the fact they haven't made a habit yet. And so if you want to live a healthy lifestyle, you have to let your brain and your physiology shift into unconscious competence. If you're quitting before you get there, you're doing yourself a disservice, because the amount of energy, if you're thinking, well, it takes me too much energy to do these things, it's because you're not in unconscious competence yet, and you will be there. Just give it a little more time. People project their energy is going to be on this conscious competence wavelength the whole life, meaning the amount of energy they have to focus and project will be at that level, but it won't. It'll get easier once you make that shift to unconscious competence.
Totally. It's easy. It's easier for me to stay on the rails than it is to go off the rails. Like it would take me effort to go off the rails. I'd have to like seek out bad things. Like what could I do to try to test myself or destroy myself? So it's a good place to be.
100%. So out of the gates, we kind of talked about it. You know where you're at. If you're an autoimmune person and you have active issues or active things going on that are significant, do the right thing. Do the right thing. Be on point. Get momentum. Get your symptoms 100% under control. Look deeper under the hood regarding hormones, regarding everything else that's happening in your body. Work with a good functional medicine practitioner, get your blood sugar, get dysglycemia under control, get inflammation, nutrient density, get toxins under control. That means going organic, clean filtered water, all that good stuff, hormone free, antibiotic free. Get your hormones stabilized and worked on, whether it's blood sugar, thyroid, female or male hormones, and then get your gut looked at, because the healthiest food, we've kind of alluded to it, if you can't digest it or break it down or absorb it properly because of stress in the gut, you're going to have a problem. So, of course, the next thing is we're assuming that because you're eating good foods, you're breaking it down. The next step is going to be working on the gut. And so we don't want foods that are full of inflammatory food allergens affecting your gut if it's not stable yet.
Yeah, my diet was great, but I had gut infections, so my skin was crap. So for me, I put in all the work on the diet and I got frustrated because I thought, well, I've got rid of gluten, I've got rid of dairy. What is wrong with me? And then luckily the functional medicine testing came in and kind of uncovered some stuff. So if you're more dialed in, you're still struggling, then, look deeper. And so if you want to reach out to Justin, you can do so clinically at his website, justinhealth.com. That's Dr. J at justinhealth.com. Me, Evan Brand at evanbrand.com. We work with people over the phone, Skype, Zoom, FaceTime, however we need to connect. We send the labs to your door. You send those back to the lab. We jump on a follow-up call to discuss the results and make a protocol. It's very, very awesome. And with everything that's been going on, it's funny that telemedicine has gotten 10x more popular. So it's really cool that we were actually ahead of this curve, and we've been doing this way the whole time. So feel free to reach out, and we look forward to helping you all.
Absolutely. So you guys know where to reach out. And just remember, just start with one thing. Like if you're coming into this journey, I find a lot of people who aren't doing the right thing. If you're around them and you start, being on point and making health changes, sometimes there's this subconscious pull to pull you down because you making the changes to improve your health sometimes magnifies their inability, lack thereof, to make changes in their life. And sometimes they may sabotage you and pull you down. So
it's a threat.
Really it's a threat.
Yeah. You're saying that by you trying to better yourself, you may piss off other people, and then they're going to try to come bring you down with them in their misery. Just eat the cookie.
Yeah. And everyone's on a different journey. So if you're the autoimmune person and you need to really be on point because you're starting this journey and maybe they're a little bit more stable and healthy, it may not even be something where they're unhealthy. It may just be they're at a different place than you and they want to indulge this Saturday night and you aren't quite there. And that's okay. You just got to meet and support people where they're at. And that's a good thing to be at. So it's good to have empathy, and it's good to understand that we're all in different places. And some people may not have even gotten out of the gate yet. They may be at that unconscious incompetence. They don't know there's even a problem yet. And so we just try to always meet people where they're at, provide empathy and understanding from where they're at.
Very true. Very true. One last story. So I had a woman, actually the husband and wife were both working with me, and the woman just loved baking. I hear this story a lot. The woman loves baking. And so like every Friday she would make brownies or cookies or cake or something, right? She's always baking some sweet thing. And then she only wants to eat a piece of it. And then she leaves it left for her husband. And if he tries to throw it away, then she's like, no, you're wasting it. You're wasting our money.
Right.
You're wasting it.
Right.
So then he feels up, which I don't know. Maybe this is his excuse. Maybe not. I'm just sharing the story. I'm just the messenger boy. So he comes in and he goes, well, she'll get mad at me if I don't eat the whole cake. I'm like, oh, that's what it is. So you have to eat the whole cake so she doesn't get mad at you. Okay, interesting. So now we're trying to switch her over to, almond flours and coconut flours and whatever. So we're just working.
It's a better option. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're just working with them on where they're at. But it's funny, he blames her, right? Oh, she'll get mad if I don't eat the whole cake. It's like, that's a good excuse right there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you got to take accountability. It's not a valid excuse in the long run, right? You get two people in there and you got to get one to agree. Hey, is this true? All right, well, we got to stop this. That's not good behavior. But yeah, I totally get it. And so outside of that, there's some really good autoimmune dessert recipes and treat recipes. And my go-to are some of the Unreal or Justin's dark chocolate brands are pretty good, or some of the Endangered Species dark chocolate, or just some of the berries and coconut yogurt, or maybe a Hail Mary tart, or I'll just choose something that's like a baked apple, like my Paleo Apple Crisp is a really good one. I have a couple of go-tos that I tend to repeat that work pretty darn well. I know you do the swaffles in the morning, which is kind of a nice treat. I'll do the keto Birch Benders waffles. Is there any other go-tos that you do that are kind of a treat for you, but still relatively healthy?
Yeah. You mentioned Swapple. Yeah, they're Swap Foods is the brand. They're like a waffle, but they're a yucca. Those are delicious. And then you mentioned earlier the keto cups. That's Evolved. I think
Keto
Evolved
Cups
is
is
a
good.
company. And
Yep.
then I also like the keto bars. There are keto bars that Perfect Keto makes.
Yep.
Anthony, he's a Cairo who makes those. Those are good. Those are like those are stevia monk fruit, I believe, and those are like organic almonds or organic cashews. Those are good. I've done some of Dave's bars, the bulletproof bars with the MCT and organic cashews. Those are pretty good, depending on if you could do nuts or not. So those are some good treats that are easy
Yep.
and quick. And then also bison. I like to do some of the epic bison meats, like the bison bites, or Tonka makes really good bison meat. So I'll do those, or venison jerky or something like that.
Yeah, and one last thing is for patients or people listening, try to get momentum out of the gate. So really start your first 2 meals of the day solid, good protein, good fats, get momentum. That makes a big difference. If you're coming out of the gates with crappy food in the morning, a Starbucks mocha frappuccino with a whole bunch of sugar, a crappy lunch, it's hard to get on top of your day from a physiological hormone anti-inflammatory support. It's really hard. So get momentum out of the gates. It's kind of like starting a race and you just kind of get out of the starting block at a walking speed. Like you got to sprint out of that starting block, right? Same thing with your health. So start your day with good habits, right? Whether it's a cold shower or whether it's clean filtered water or some minerals, some good protein, some good fat, or if you're healthy enough, maybe intermittent fasting. Again, people that aren't healthy, I think they need nutrition in the morning. They don't need nothing in the morning. The healthier you are, the more fasting I think provides a beneficial effect. Just like exercising really hard can be beneficial if you're already fit, right? Kind of like that. So that's kind of where I'm at. I think we put some really good points out there. EvanBrand.com for Evan. Reach out virtually worldwide for support. JustinHealth.com for Dr. J and myself. We are here for y'all, and you guys have a phenomenal day. Take care, y'all.